Okay, so we've got get age, and now we want to test print person. There's a little problem with print person because print person is actually printing something out to standard output. All right. And in order to really test that, we kind of have to capture standard output. There's a way to do this, but I can never remember the way to do this. So I'm going to look something up on the web once I create the signature for this test. Okay, test print person. Okay, so there's the stub for print person. And we want to capture standard output. So I'm just going to go into Google. All right, and I'm going to search for Java JUnit print line. And you know, Stack Overflow, I gotta say, is one of the best resources, because a lot of times you have a question in Java, you're not sure how you do it, and somebody has already asked that question on Stack Overflow. I think it applies to, Stack Overflow applies to all languages, but yeah, I use it again and again and again. So this person wants to write a JUnit test, and the messages are being printed to standard output instead of string. I mean, if I was creating this class person, I would probably not have a print person. I would probably suggest just having a toString method on person, and then if some other part of your system wants to print out that string, then that's fine. All right, so it's probably not a real good idea to have print person right there that prints to standard output. But let's deal with it. It's there, and we need to know how to test it. So let me go back to the browser. Okay, and here's the first, the best answer right here. Basically, this person is saying that you create a byte array stream. Okay, and you essentially set that to be your standard output. Okay, in the setup. The person's also doing a teardown here, but we don't really need to worry about the teardown. I don't think it's going to affect our test. So we're just going to grab this, copy that, and that is a private variable. Whoops, I got to go into person test. That is going to be a private variable in person test. Let me just put it up here. I'll put it a little bit apart from Fred and Jane because it's a little bit special. And of course, it's complaining that we haven't imported these. Doesn't know what they are, so we're going to click on this, and the first one is import it. It's nice when the first suggestion works. Okay, we're going to save that, and we have one thing to put in our before method, and that is system set out. I'm going to copy that. This person's doing standard error also. Since we don't have standard error, we don't need to worry about that. So that is the first thing I'm going to do here. System set out equals new print stream out content. And out content is the variable we just created. Okay. And of course, it doesn't have a print stream, so we're just going to import that. Okay, and now all the standard output is going to be redirected to out content. Okay, so if you want to know what the standard output was, you just say out content dot toString, and that will tell you. And I think he even has that in the suggestion. So here are sample test cases. You just print the standard output, and then when you do your assert equals to do the test, you just say out content toString. That's going to be your actual value. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. We want to test print person. So let's do that with Fred. Assert equals, and then what is our expected value? Well, let's look at person. It's printing the name, a comma, a space, and then the age. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's print Fred, a comma, a space, and then Fred's age, which is 35. And we have to actually print it first. Okay, sorry about that. So we actually have to say Fred.printPerson. Okay, and then that prints to standard output, which is our out content. So now we can do out content dot toString. Okay, so let's see if that works. Let's go ahead and run it. Oh, does not work. All right, let's try to figure out what is wrong. So let's just double click that, and it should highlight that assert equals. And then down here, we've got something that says expected Fred, comma, space, 35, nothing, because you see the brackets are right close together, so it means nothing's following that 35. But what we found in actuality was Fred, comma, space, 35, and it looks like there's nothing there again. Let's see if I can expand this. Okay, so when I expand it, this should give you a hint of what's going on, because look, let me try to grab this again. Okay, look, Fred, comma, space, 35, bracket, close angle bracket. I mean, all that stuff is big enough to fit on one line, is, you know, within the range of fitting on one line. But it's not. It's not fitting on one line. So what's the problem here? I mean, if I give you 10 seconds, can you figure out what the difference is between this expected value and the actual value? 10 seconds starting now. Okay, so the answer is that in the actual value, there's Fred followed by a comma, followed by a space, followed by 35, and then there's a line return. Okay, see, if there wasn't that line return, this, you know, close square bracket and close angle bracket would have been on this same line. All right, but there is a line return there, so that's kind of sneaky. Actually, if you... Oh, okay, so it doesn't wrap around anyway, so that does tell you definitely that there is that there's a line return in there. All right, so what we would need to do to make this work is we would need to add a \n, okay, for line feed. And that makes sense because we are saying print line, and print line always puts a line return at the end. Okay? All right, so let's test this. And everything works. Fantastic. Now, the only problem with this is the same problem with getAge, because this is not going to work in 1 year. All right. The way I'm going to fix this one is I'm just going to go ahead and get Fred's age. So I'm just going to do age equals Fred.getAge. And then instead of putting 35 here, I'm going to just add the age, and I'm going to delete that 35 from there. All right, so let's look at how we do that. Let's look at whether that works. And that works, so that's good. Now, I can do the same thing for Jane. My only concern is that if I print out with Jane, it still has Fred's information in standard output. So it's not going to be nice and tidy. Like basically once you reset standard output, as we did up here in the setup, okay, you're creating a new print stream, and it's going to out content. That basically clears out content, okay? And this setup is run before every single test here. So this is a test, this is a test, and so on. All these test annotations indicate that there's another test. Well, this before method, or this before annotation, indicates that this method here is going to be run before every single test. Okay, which is nice because then you can make sure that things go back to their initial values if you've modified any values. So what I would do here is I would simply copy this test for Jane and maybe call it test print person 2, and then I would just substitute Jane here. And I need Jane's name there. Okay, let's run that, and everything works.